In today's video, I want to take a look at the metals. Um, I've warned about this many times in the past. Other than the currencies, the metals are probably the most heavily manipulated markets on the planet. Um, you know, Weeks and actually months ago, I warned as I watched the bullion banks get stuck in larger and larger short positions on gold. Um, they they were not able to turn gold back down by continuing to add more shorts. They were just digging themselves a deeper and deeper hole. And I noted at the time that they would almost certainly switch tactics and they would start to attack the silver market and the miners. And as long as they could keep those two areas suppressed, it would probably keep gold contained. And that's exactly what happened. Um, this uh, was clearly an attack, um, not so much right here. This was a test of the baby bull high, but this attack right here, this was a big warning sign. And if you're going to trade the metals, you've got to pay attention to these warning signs. Uh, they are clues that a severe manipulation intervention in the market is going to happen. As I said, the bullion banks were stuck in this monster short position on gold that they were unable to take gold back down, so they were going to attack the metals and miners. This was the warning sign that an attack was coming and that we needed to um, get out of the metal sector. So when this should have acted as support right here. When this was breached right here, I told my subscribers that we probably needed to get on the sidelines and get out of the way, and definitely any close back below the 10-day moving average was a signal to exit this market and get out of the way, that the bullion banks were going to unleash a major attack on the sector. And that is exactly what they did. Obviously, there was some margin selling in here as well, but for the most part, this is a coordinated attack on the miners. And I'll pull up the silver chart. And on silver, uh, in the effort to keep gold from starting to rise exponentially, a breakthrough 1700 would have been very bad for the bullion banks. Um, and you can see that it worked. With the miners and silver being crushed, there's just no way that gold could continue to fight off the attacks from the bullion banks, and they have now um, uh, turned this intermediate cycle down. Once we started to get late in this cycle, we were 15 or 16 weeks in here. Um, I warned everybody it was late in the intermediate cycle. Get off leverage. Go to unleveraged funds, and then, like I said, once uh, that support level had broken, and this is the juniors. So once the support level had broken, um, right here, this day right here, that was the signal that you had to get out of the way, that the bullion banks were going to make a massive uh, push to attack the sector and bring down gold and salvage those shorts that they had in the metals. So, if you're going to trade metals, this is just uh, one of, if not maybe the most important tool you can have in your toolbox, is the ability to anticipate when these attacks are going to come. And when you see the COTs just continue to build larger and larger short positions, um, at some point they're going to try and attack the sector and bring it back down, and they certainly did. But at least for the people that listened to me and got out of the way, we've avoided all of this. And at this point, I really am not interested in getting back into the metals right now until um, 4 or 5 weeks go by. Gold's going to have to come down far enough for the bullion banks to get out of those shorts uh, and and reset. And I don't think we are there yet. Um, they're probably going to, well, in a natural market, this is a right translated cycle. It's never going to fall below this intermediate cycle low here. But again, this is not a natural move. This is a coordinated attack on the metals. So they're probably going to want to try and get out here. As I mentioned before, there were multiple attacks here to try and create a bloodbath phase, so the banks could exit into that panic selling, and the bull cartel prevented it, trapping them into another intermediate cycle. The same thing happened back down here. So they've got a lot of shorts that they built up right here as they were trying to manufacture that bloodbath phase. They're probably going to need gold to go below this level here in order to escape um, those shorts. So no really interest in the metals at all right now. The bullion banks are in full attack mode, and they are winning the battle, and there's no reason to step in front of them at this point. And then, of course, this is if the metals market is the second most heavily manipulated market, then the currencies are the most manipulated. And I had pointed this out. I warned my subscribers that this was coming. Um, Let me widen this chart. So again, we've got this is a failed and left translated intermediate cycle. It only made it to week 9. There's no natural scenario where an intermediate cycle bottoms on week 9. Um, this move broke below this intermediate cycle low, this intermediate cycle low, and this intermediate cycle low. So confirmation that the multi-year cycle had rolled over, but um, again, I warned that the ECB um, would suppress the euro and try to prevent this from happening, and that is exactly what's happening here. Again, an intermediate cycle is never going to bottom naturally on week 9. It's never going to recover naturally after breaking below 3 intermediate cycle lows. But I've said many times, I don't even know why we even have currency markets anymore. They might as well just be private and let the central banks fight it out in private. Um, there is really no natural price discovery in the currencies at this point. So this is why I will never trade currencies, and in this manufactured rally in the dollar here and artificial suppression of the euro is giving the banks some more fuel to attack the gold market. So, if you're going to trade this market, you got to be aware of this. You've got to be, constantly on the lookout for signs of impending attack. We saw those signs several weeks ago, and we got out of the way. And at this point, I'm just not at all interested in the metals until I see the bullion banks cover, a big chunk of those massive short positions that they built up in gold, and that's probably going to mean that they're going to take gold down below this intermediate cycle low, even though, like I said, this would never occur naturally, as this is a right translated cycle.